Namaste. The Uddhava Gita, also known as the Hamsa Gita, is a sacred dialogue between Bhagavan Krishna and his dear devotee Uddhava, and is found in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavata Purana. It offers profound teachings on devotion, self-realization, and the nature of the material world. Krishna emphasizes surrender, selfless service, and the illusory nature of attachments. The Uddhava Gita guides seekers on the path of spiritual enlightenment, providing insights into yoga, meditation, and the Supreme Absolute. It is a timeless source of wisdom and inspiration for those seeking divine love and liberation. The story of the 24 Gurus of Avadhuta Dattatreya occurs in the Uddhava Gita. The term Avadhuta means an ascetic who has renounced all worldly attachments and connections. This story serves as a metaphorical representation of the diverse sources of wisdom that can be found in every aspect of nature. It highlights the idea that spiritual teachings are not limited to formal teachers or scriptures alone, but can be gleaned from everyday experiences and observations. Seeking know-it-all gurus is unwise and hinders spiritual growth. Instead, recognizing that everyone and everything can be a valuable teacher allows for growth and protects against disappointments and heartbreaks. Embracing every situation and experience as a learning opportunity opens doors to profound wisdom, even in the face of unpleasant or what one might call bad experiences. In this chapter, Krishna responds to Uddhava's request to be taken back to the spiritual world. Krishna advises Uddhava to detach himself from personal attachments and redirect his focus towards Krishna, while maintaining an equal and unbiased perception of the world. Krishna explains that the material universe perceived through the senses is illusory and temporary, and one should control the senses and realize the self as expanded everywhere. By acquiring conclusive knowledge and practicing it, Uddhava would perceive the pure self and become dear to all living beings. Krishna emphasized that those who are peaceful, endowed with knowledge, and see Krishna within all beings and things will never fall into the cycle of birth and death. Uddhava, recognizing Krishna as the giver of yoga perfection, expressed his humility and acknowledged the difficulty of renouncing material enjoyment for those attached to sense gratification. He confessed his own foolishness in identifying with the body and bodily relationships. Seeking guidance, he requested Krishna to teach him how to easily carry out his instructions. In relation to this, Krishna proceeds to narrate a timeless dialogue that took place between the illustrious King Yadu and Avadhuta Dattatreya, who had 24 spiritual gurus. Before we continue, it will be necessary to recall that almost the entire Bhagavata Purana was narrated by the son of sage Vedavyasa, Shukadeva Goswami, to King Parikshit. Another important point to bear in mind is that the entire scripture is metaphorical. Shukadeva Goswami confirms this in Shloka 12.3.14 of the scripture. Gatha imaste gathita mahiyasam vitaya lokeshu yashak pareyusham vijnana vairagya vivakraya vibho vacho vibhutir natu paramartyam. The son of sage Vedavyasa, Shukadeva Goswami, who is the main narrator of the Bhagavata Purana, says to King Parikshit, "O mighty king, I have told you tales of great kings whose reputations have extended far and wide before their eventual passing. However, my primary objective has been to impart the wisdom of transcendental knowledge and the importance of renunciation. Although these stories of great kings add grandeur and splendor to my narrations, they on their own do not constitute the ultimate knowledge. Therefore, please try to comprehend the philosophy in this and avoid drifting into a dualistic mindset also. The Avadhuta, whom King Yadu, son of Yayati, encountered, wandered in ecstatic transcendental bliss, seemingly unpredictable. When asked about the cause of his wandering, he said he had received knowledge from 24 distinct gurus. These gurus, comprising the earth, wind, sky, water, fire, and other elements, taught him numerous valuable lessons. Some of these lessons included the significance of being sober, serving others, showing commitment, finding contentment, maintaining purity, understanding the nature of the Atman, gaining clarity, seeking purification, relinquishing desires, acknowledging the presence of the Supreme Atman, recognizing the Atman's immutability, steering clear of entanglements, comprehending different modes of perception, and being wary of excessive attachment. Before beginning with the 24 Gurus, I would like to once again point out that this story highlights the importance of spiritual knowledge and the diverse sources from which it can be acquired. It encourages individuals to observe and learn from their surroundings, both in nature and in the experiences of others, to progress on the path of self-realization and transcendence. The Avadhuta says, "I have taken shelter from 24 gurus, who are the following: the earth, the wind, the sky, water, fire, the moon, the sun, the pigeon, the python, the ocean, the moth, the honeybee, the elephant, the honey gatherer, the deer, the fish, Pingala the dancing girl, the osprey, the child, the maiden, the arrow maker, the serpent, the spider, the wasp, plus one, which is my own body." All right, let us begin with what the Avadhuta learned from each of his 24 gurus. 1. The earth. Dattatreya learnt from the earth the virtue of patience, stability, and of dedicating his life to the service of others. Just as the earth remains steady and bears all things without expecting anything in return, he realized the importance of enduring difficulties and staying steadfast. 2. The wind. Through the observation of the wind, both within his own body as the vital air and externally, he gained the wisdom to find contentment in the basic sustenance of life and to preserve purity amidst the influences of the physical body and sensory distractions. 3. The sky. By contemplating the sky, he attained the understanding that the Atman transcends all material forms, remaining undivided and beyond perception. 4. Water. From his observations of water, he imbibed the lesson of being naturally transparent and purifying in his own essence. 5. Fire. From fire, he imbibed the wisdom of consuming all things without being tainted, symbolizing the ability to transcend impurities. He also understood the fire's power to incinerate the inauspicious desires of those who offer oblations to it. Furthermore, he learned from fire the profound truth that the Supreme Atman permeates every living form, assuming diverse identities while remaining inherently unchanged. 6. The moon. The moon illuminated his understanding of balance and detachment. Just as the moon cycles through its various phases of waxing and waning, Dattatreya realized the significance of not getting entangled in the fluctuations of life. Instead, he embraced a state of equanimity, remaining untouched by the changing tides of birth, growth, dwindling, and death that the material body undergoes. 7. The sun. Dattatreya imbibed selflessness from observing the sun. Just as the sun selflessly bestows light and warmth upon all beings without discrimination, he learned the significance of serving others and spreading positivity without any selfish motives. Furthermore, from the sun, he gained the wisdom and insight to avoid entanglement while encountering sensory objects. He also discerned the two distinct modes of perception, perceiving the true essence of the Atman and recognizing the illusory coverings that falsely designate identities. 8. The pigeon. By observing the pigeon, Dattatreya discovered the detrimental effects of excessive affection and attachment. He realized that although the human body presents an opportunity for liberation, becoming deeply attached to family life, similar to the pigeon, can be likened to a person climbing to great heights only to experience a sudden fall. This taught him the importance of striking a balance between love and attachment, and to avoid getting entangled in excessive worldly attachments that hinder spiritual progress. 9. The python. A saintly person emulates the passive nature of a python, relying on natural sustenance and renouncing material pursuits. They consume whatever food comes their way, regardless of its abundance, taste, or quality. During times of scarcity, they willingly fast, demonstrating their physical and mental strength, devoid of desires and unnecessary engagement. 10. The ocean. Avadhuta Dattatreya learned the virtue of patience from the ocean. The ocean tolerates the continuous flow of rivers and never overflows. He imbibed the quality of patience and learned to remain calm and composed in the face of challenges and constant change. 11. The moth. Avadhuta Dattatreya learned that just as a moth flies into the fire and ends up destroyed, one who lacks control over their senses upon encountering worldly pleasures is immediately drawn towards them. The enticement causes them to lose their spiritual bearings and fall blindly into the depths of material existence. 12. The honeybee. Similar to how a honeybee gathers nectar from flowers of all sizes, a wise individual should extract the essence from all religious scriptures. 13. The elephant. In order to catch a male elephant or a tusker, a trap is set using a stuffed female elephant as bait. The male elephant, enticed by the sight of the female, eagerly approaches it only to fall into the pitfall laid in its path. One must therefore overcome the overpowering feeling of lust. Failure to do so leads to entrapment, preventing individuals from escaping its clutches and following the right path to liberation. 14. The honey gatherer. A greedy person works hard to accumulate wealth, but often fails to enjoy it or share it with others. This is like a bee producing honey that is later stolen by someone else. Even if one tries to protect their wealth, there are always those who can steal it. 15. The deer, a saintly person residing in the renounced order of life in the forest, must firmly abstain from songs or music that promote material enjoyment. Instead, the saintly person should attentively observe the lesson imparted by the deer, who falls prey to the chanting melody of the hunter's horn and subsequently meets its demise. By studying this example, the saintly person learns the importance of avoiding worldly temptations that can lead to their entanglement and destruction. 16. The fish. Just as a fish falls into the fatal trap of a fisherman's hook, driven by its desire for taste, a foolish person is similarly led astray by the powerful urges of the tongue, resulting in their ruin. Conquering the tongue is the key to mastering all the senses and exercising self-control. 17. Pingala, the dancing girl. Pingala's story serves as a powerful lesson. She eagerly waited for a promised visitor who would fulfill her desires, only to be left waiting all night in vain. Eventually, she recognized the futility of seeking external happiness and turned her attention inward, focusing on the Atman, or the true self. This teaches us not to rely on others for material benefits. The temptation to seek objects from others only leads to misery and frustration. 18. The Osprey. An osprey, holding its prey, was attacked by stronger birds of prey. In a life-threatening situation, the hawk abandoned its meal and found true happiness. Similarly, letting go of worldly possessions leads to a peaceful and spiritual life. 19. The child. I have neither honor nor dishonor. Like a carefree child, I roam this world, finding joy and amusement solely in the realm of the Atman. Two kinds of individuals exist without worries. They are the innocent and simple-minded who, like a child, find immense happiness, and the enlightened ones who have transcended the influence of material nature, reaching the realm of the Absolute. 20. The maiden. Once a young girl found herself alone at home as her parents and relatives had left for another place. Soon, several men arrived seeking her hand in marriage. Despite being alone, she warmly welcomed them and began making preparations to serve them a meal. As she beat the rice, her conch shell bracelets clashed loudly, causing her to worry that the guests might perceive her family as poor due to her engaging in such laborious work. Being clever, she removed 2 bracelets from each wrist, reducing the noise. Yet, even with 2 bracelets remaining, they continued to collide and make noise. So she took off 1 bracelet from each wrist, resulting in complete silence. Traveling across the earth, I have observed this story firsthand, learning a valuable lesson, says Dattatreya. Wherever there are many people living together, conflicts are inevitable. Even when only 2 individuals reside together, there will be frivolous conversations and disagreements. Therefore, to avoid conflicts, one should choose to live alone, drawing inspiration from the example of the young girl's bracelets. 21. The arrow maker. When one's consciousness is fully absorbed in the absolute truth, the perception of duality and distinctions between internal and external realities vanish. It is exemplified by the story of an arrow maker who was so engrossed in perfecting a straight arrow that he remained oblivious to the presence of the passing king, not even casting a glance towards him. 22. The Serpent. A sage, embracing a solitary path, roams without a fixed abode or sanctuary, maintaining constant vigilance and discretion in his conduct. His words are measured, devoid of companionship. Constructing a home for one's temporary existence is a futile and burdensome endeavor. Just as a serpent thrives in a home built by others, the sage finds contentment in his nomadic life. Fearless in the face of death, he welcomes its arrival and effortlessly discards the mortal coil, mirroring the graceful shedding of a snake's skin. 23. The Spider. Narayana, the Supreme Reality, is the creator and sustainer of the universe. Just as the spider releases silk from its mouth, manipulates it for a while, and eventually consumes it, similarly, the Supreme One emanates his personal potency from within himself. Thus he manifests the intricate web of the cosmic creation, enjoys it, and ultimately withdraws it back into himself. 24. The Wasp. A wasp compelled a weaker insect to enter its hive, where it kept the helpless insect trapped. Filled with intense fear, the captive insect constantly meditated on its captor. Remarkably, without abandoning its own body, the weaker insect gradually attained the same state of existence as the wasp. This illustrates how one's constant concentration determines the state of existence one achieves. After briefly describing his 24 gurus, Avadhuta Dattatreya comes to the final guru he says he has apart from the 24. It is Avadhuta's own body. The Avadhuta says to King Yadu, "Now please listen, O king, as I share the knowledge I have acquired through observing my own body. The body is a constant source of suffering, burdened by the need for maintenance and its inevitable destruction. Despite its existence to serve others, I see it as a teacher of renunciation and discrimination, urging me to wander in detachment. In order to please the body, one must divide their care among various responsibilities, such as the spouse, children, animals, home, and relatives. Just as a tree drops its seeds and eventually withers away, the body at the time of death must relinquish all the wealth it painfully accumulated." Well, those were the 24 plus 1 gurus of Avadhuta Dattatreya. Avadhuta Dattatreya is often depicted with several symbolic elements. Here is a brief description of the symbolism associated with Dattatreya. The 3 heads signify the divine trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva: creation, preservation, and transformation. The cow symbolizes the earth, provider of resources and nurturing abundance. The 4 dogs beside him represent the 4 Vedas, the sacred scriptures guiding humanity. Being an ever-hungry seeker myself and experiencing utter bliss by being one, I encourage others also to do so. Apart from improving one's understanding of life and nature, it saves people a hell of a lot of time which they would otherwise spend on matters that can neither cause everlasting pleasure nor contribute towards their spiritual evolution. Start your spiritual journey by delving into the profound philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and then explore the wisdom of the Upanishads. Avoid becoming entangled in religious dogmas, narrow ideologies, or rigid customs and rituals that impose restrictions. Such limitations hinder spiritual growth. In Vedanta, there are no strict do's and don'ts. Instead, focus on asking questions, listening attentively, studying diligently, contemplating deeply, analyzing critically, understanding comprehensively, and internalizing profound truths. Have a blessed, enriching, and fulfilling life ahead. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.